We just heard from George Campbell there, who said that the only difference really with you now being the manager, he has to call you gaffer. I just wonder what it's like for you. I know obviously you've had some domestic games and you've had the interim experience too, but how are you finding it, this new role of yours?
Really enjoying it. I'm slightly surprised that he thinks that's the only difference, to be honest. Probably concerns me a wee bit more, thinking that all the hard work we've been doing. But no, I think the big thing that's pleasing for me, it seems like the lads are enjoying it. That's a big thing. The new staff coming in are feeling that as well. It's a real positive place to work at the moment. And I think that excitement's built this week, especially with the first league game of the season coming up. So all in all, really happy with where we are. And it's been a successful start to the season.
I know you weren't obviously the manager this time last year, but obviously you were part of the coaching staff. Do you feel a different kind of mood around the place?
Yeah, definitely. I think that comes just with fresh faces, fresh voices all the time. You know, there's new players came into the squad as well, and naturally that will happen throughout the course of the window being open. Players will leave, players will come in, and I think all in all, really happy with where we are. I think the pre-season trip that we managed to get over in Holland was excellent for that as well. And as I've already touched on there, the positivity around the place and the excitement now building towards that first game of the season.
You talked about new faces. Can you just give us an update as to where you are with trying to get players in? I know you've been linked with Junior Hoylett and Kuturevic as well coming back. Can you tell us anything in that?
Well, we are working very hard on transfers. I think that's something that I've mentioned a lot now. I've made it pretty clear in the last few interviews especially that we know we're light in forward areas, and it's something we are working very hard to do, but it's more just a case of bringing in the right people. We're not just signing anyone for the sake of signing people. It's definitely doing the right work, going through the process, making sure we bring the right type in, and we're really happy with the business we've done so far on that front. Just the type of people, the leaders they are, the way they train every day, and they've really added to that group, and that goes back to what I touched on earlier about the feel-good factor around the building just now. So we are very conscious of bringing in the right people, but it's something that we are working very hard to do.
Can you give us any specific details about if you're in discussions with any particular players or clubs at the minute?
Well, at the minute, obviously, as I've already touched on, there is a lot of conversations being had, and hopefully that can progress in days rather than weeks, and it's something, as I said, we are working hard to do.
How vital is it, how significant would it be to get off to a good start, even on day one in the league, given what happened last season?
Yeah, that's the challenge that faces us. Moves over to the league campaign. Obviously, start of the season, the challenge was to get out of the group stages, which we've done, progressed in the cup, because I know how challenging that can be. So delighted we've managed to do that, and now the full focus changes towards the league campaign. And as I've already touched on, the excitement that's geared up towards that. We all know, I mentioned it again this morning to the players, the expectation of this football club and the expectations of the fans when you come and play for a club like this. And we need to look forward to that and relish that, and hopefully we can start with a positive result at the weekend.
Just a final one from me in terms of St Mirren. Obviously you'll get a chance to see them in action this evening. I don't know if are you going along to the game to kind of see them. It's going to be on the television as well, but it'll give you a chance to see where they're at and to do some extra early homework if you like. Yeah,
listen, I wish them all the best. You know, you always want the Scottish clubs to do well in Europe. Watched the game last week, and I think they've got a real good chance tonight, so we'll definitely be watching that one, watching it closely, obviously for obvious reasons for us, for selfish reasons, but you know, they've done really well last season, especially to earn the right to go and compete in Europe, and that's something that we had as a club last year, playing in Europe, and definitely something we're aiming towards trying to achieve this season.
With this being your first full summer transfer window as a manager, how have you found that experience of getting deals over the line, or maybe not getting a deal over the line you thought you were close to? How have you found that so far?
I think it's just the world of football at the moment as well. It has been quite a slow window for a number of reasons. We have got a process in place and a structure in place that's working extremely hard to make sure we bring the right people in. I've just touched on that. I think though, when you look around the world of football at the minute, especially with the Euros happening and running on, especially looking down at the English clubs, if that was anyone fishing in that market, them keeping their younger players in because of having to fill fixtures and things like that, it's probably just slowing it down a little bit. So it is about being patient and being proactive and going after the targets we can get, and being ready to pounce when we can. But as I say, the work is ongoing all the time, and we are aware of the fact that we need to try and do this as quickly as we can, but get the right ones.
You've had those 4 Premier Sports Cup games. What have you learned about yourself since becoming a permanent manager here in those 2 months since you took the job?
About myself? I'm not too sure actually. I think you always reflect. I think even as a player, I was constantly reflecting on how you can improve. Every day when you come into the training ground, things we're working on, we talk a lot as a staff about areas in which we can improve, and I think that was that was good with the 8 games we've played in pre-season. It was a real variety of opposition, different levels at different times, and then the competitive fixtures were great for that. And then hopefully in the long run, the little disappointment we had, it's not always going to be plain sailing all the time. We will lose games of football, but you want to guard against that, but also how you then react when adversity comes along. I probably learnt a little bit from that and try to lean on other experienced managers maybe that I've worked with before. Never get too high when it's going well and too low when it's going during adversity. So I think that's something I will learn and keep moving forward with. But as I said, at this moment in time, I'm really happy with where things are.
And we mentioned St Mirren playing tonight. Is their schedule something that you can take advantage of in this weekend's game?
No, I think it's just I'm fully focused on what we can do. I think they've got their own games to prepare for, and we've got ours. And I think when you look at, we've started a little bit earlier in terms of the competitive fixtures, but they've had one now themselves, and they'll be fully focused on what they're doing, and we're fully focused on how we can hopefully try and get a result against them.
In terms of the recruitment, Dave, numbers-wise, do you anticipate a lot happening over the next month, or is it just a couple that you'll need to get in?
As I've said before as well, I don't like putting an actual number on it. As I've said a few times though, that we are light in the forward areas, so it's something that we are working hard to try and rectify. And I'm still sure there'll be movement within ins and outs, just naturally with the window being open. And as I've already touched on, because of the nature of being quite slow, I'd expect that to pick up, especially later on in the window. But it's about doing the work as early as you can and being ready to act if something comes up that we can actually push.
On Kukarevic specifically, I know he's a Swansea player, but is there anything there, anything like that happening?
Listen, you've touched the nail on the head there. I think he is a Swansea player, and then while he is still a Swansea player, I don't want to talk about players at other clubs, to be honest.
Junior Hoylett, free agent, is there any interest there?
I think Junior's someone who done really well last season. I was impressed with him at Aberdeen. I thought he was a big part of their success, especially laterally in the season. He's had a fantastic career and will continue to have a good career. I think he's picked up a wee injury away with Canada, but played at a very high level, and he's certainly a player that's had a very good career.
Could that career continue at Hibs?
We'll have a question for someone else probably, but at this moment in time we are working hard on various targets at the moment.
In terms of player availability for the weekend, is anybody missing?
Got a few missing still. Ellie Yuhan's still out. We've got Harry McCurdy won't be available for this weekend either. He's just a bit of an illness, chest infection, but he's improving every single day. But we should have a couple back as well, Chris Cadden, Warren O'Hara. So no, we're in a good place at the moment.
What's the situation with Ellie? He's obviously been linked with a move away over the summer. What's the latest with him?
Well, he also picked up that knock in the very last minute of the Queen's Park game, which was disappointing for him and us, to be honest. It was just one of them collisions with the goalkeeper. We had real positive news after us seeing a specialist and just making sure everything's all right with that. And right now he's a Hibs player and he's fully focused on trying to get himself back fit and being an asset for Hibs until that changes. That's exactly what my job is to do, is to try and get him on the pitch and try to get him to perform at the best level he can.